Okay. Yeah. Town hall boardroom, you see here. I don't know, I've never done this like this before with this, but we'll see.
Mel, do you want me to go give Noam a call?
Well, he picked up his agenda about 3 hours ago, so I know he's, I'm just wondering if he's maybe having some technical difficulties. We've got quorum. We can start. Do you want to give him a call, Chris?
Okay.
But we have quorum. There's no reason not to start.
Okay, I'm stepping away to get my phone. I'll be able to hear you guys.
Okay, sounds good. We'll, I think we're ready to go, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I guess I'll call the meeting to order. And is there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Yes, no. So we need a resolution to approve the agenda for April 12th.
That is correct. Mover and a seconder.
Mover and a seconder, Chris and Yvonne.
It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Yvonne Zuhang. Be it resolved that the agenda for the Planning Advisory Committee meeting held on April the 12th, 2021 be approved as presented.
All in favor? Or against? Carried. Adoptions of the minutes of March 8th, resolution.
Mover and a seconder.
Mover and a seconder.
No.
Dan and Yvonne. Dan.
It is moved by Yvonne Zuhang, seconded by Dan Revita. Be it resolved that the minutes of the meeting held on March the 8th, 2021 be adopted as presented.
Question, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Madame Savage.
Okay, I haven't seen the minutes. Were the minutes in our package?
They were.
No, I think you forgot.
I
them.
lied. They weren't.
Yeah,
Bad Mel. Sorry, guys. We'll have to
Okay.
defer that resolution, Mr. Chair. I forgot to put them into the package. My apologies.
So we'll carry on without that.
Can we defer that? We'll just defer it to the next meeting? My mistake. I prepared them and everything and forgot to put them in the package.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. So we'll defer to next meeting.
Oh, I see people now.
There.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good evening.
So you guys didn't have any pecuniary interest, Mr. Abels and Chris? No? Okay,
No,
so we're up to the first applicant, which is 2021-01. There, I just lost you now. Oh,
Okay. So I'll read may I have a mover and a seconder for the application as zoning bylaw amendment 2021-01, please.
The other ones that did the, but that's on John Street, that's not here. It's gonna come up, it's gonna come up.
Can I get a mover and a seconder?
No, wait.
Joanne?
Chris,
Thank you. Okay, it is moved by Joanne Savage and seconded by Chris Fisher, whereas a public meeting was held for the purpose of amending zoning bylaw 2014-45 for property located at 161 John Street in Sturgeon Falls, being part of the west half of lot 19, part of lot 19 on the west side of Main Street, Plan 11, Sturgeon Falls. And whereas the purpose and effect of the proposed amendment is to amend the zoning designation of the property from general commercial exception zone 1, to residential 4, exception zone 3, with the provisions shown on Schedule A. And whereas concerns and objections have been received, be it resolved that the West Nipissing Planning Advisory Committee recommend. Is someone speaking?
Yes, it's Dennis speaking.
Sir, could I ask you please to put yourself on mute until the committee calls for comments, if you don't mind?
Not a problem. Thank
Thank you
you.
very much, sir.
Thank you.
Be it resolved that the West Nipissing Planning Advisory Committee recommends or does not recommend that council for the West Nipissing municipality adopt the proposed zoning bylaw to rezone the property located on 161 Main Street as follows. And I had attached to the resolution all of the provisions. The main request was to change the main floor of the commercial building to residential. Which was, if you know the property, it's the existing dance studio. And there was also an intention to legalize a variety of the existing non-conforming setbacks on that property as well. The property was obviously built a long time ago, so it's not exactly meeting all of the setbacks of our current bylaw. So what the intention was to increase the lot area coverage, the front yard, the rear yard, the interior side, the setback from the road, all needed to be adjusted. They needed the concern, or the one item that was of great concern to me and what is causing me to not recommend it was the reduction in the parking requirements. Because the normal requirements for a residential property, for multi-residential property, is 1.25 spaces per dwelling unit. What is being requested here is 0.5 spaces per dwelling unit. It's my understanding that this building is going to go from 6 to 9 residential dwelling units with only 5 parking spaces and no accessible parking. The other issue that I did address in the zoning amendment was that there's some commercial being maintained in an outbuilding at the back of this property. I'll show you, you'll see there's a main building here, and then there's this small building at the back of the property. And there is still a commercial tenant in this building back here. However, the property, the way it's laid out, it doesn't lend itself to all of the sorts of commercial uses that could be used in that zone. So I have reduced the commercial in consultation with the consultant, reduced the proposed commercial uses for the property such that they wouldn't have any impact or more impact on the existing parking in situation. So that is what is being proposed. As you see in my report, I am not recommending it. I believe that the residential intensification is a little bit too high, and it's not in keeping with our official plan, given the lack of parking on the site and concerns that were raised by our public works manager with respect to snow storage and snow removal in the winter. So I will, having presented it, I will turn it over to the applicant's consultant, who I believe is with us.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ducharme. Just by way of response, almost all of the issues that have been identified currently exist on the property as it sits right now. The setbacks, there's nothing we can do. The property was already established many years before the zoning bylaw was created. The snow storage issues, we have those issues right now, and they've been effectively dealt with in the past. Converting it to the residential units on the main floor really makes no difference to the actual use of the property in terms of the parking area, the snow storage, any of the setbacks. The units that are on the upper floor of the large 2-story building, they're all very small bachelor apartments, and then they're geared towards a certain segment that really needs the affordable housing. They're there now, and what's being proposed is to convert the lower floor into 3 larger 1 to 2 large 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom units, and it would be assumed that the tenants on the lower floor will have the parking spaces. You'll note that there is a laneway left between parking space 5 and the two-story structure. With the laneway, that would also qualify as a barrier-free or handicap parking spot. Typically, they're the same width as long as you're up against a laneway that that people could then safely unload onto. So the other 4 spots would be standard parking spaces. There is in the downtown core, there is no requirement under the zoning bylaw for commercial spaces to have parking. And that is because the parking then is on the downtown parking lots or along street parking. In the winter time, of course, the commercial uses aren't open during the evening, so everyone goes home. You still don't have an issue with snow removal on the streets. So really, it's just for the additional residential parking. And then the premise here is that the people on the upper level that would be rented to, they would be renting without a parking space. If any of them did have parking, they'd have to either arrange for private parking nearby or arrange some other, come to some other arrangement. In the downtown cores of most cities, it's not uncommon for people to live without cars. They simply, and it's not even an economic factor for many of them. You get a lot of condo dwellers right in downtown Toronto. They simply don't need a car. When they need one, they rent one. They don't need the expense of it. In this case, the apartments are geared to the income of the tenants, and then service that market. So the likelihood of the tenants in those units having their own vehicles is very low. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Okay, so let's open up the floor. Madame Savage?
So with the proposed development, we're not proposing to increase the actual parking spaces that are presently there.
That's correct. We just simply don't have the room on the lot to add additional spaces. Now, if one of the units had 2 vehicles, there is space to be able to stack the parking one behind the other, but you can't do that for 2 separate units because, of course, the first guy that wants to go out will have to go and contact the other neighbor and get them to come out and move their vehicle. So that is never a good idea. Like essentially there's 10 parking spots, but you could only have parking for 5 of the units, whether it's 1 car or 2.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Subsequently, I just want clarification. I heard that the tenants living on the 2nd story do not have any vehicles. And then I also heard that it was not an issue during the winter months pertaining to winter clearance for snow removal by Public Works. I just want to make sure I heard correctly.
Well, that's correct from the commercial use standpoint. I guess what the fear is that one of the tenants in the building that doesn't have an assigned parking spot will acquire a vehicle and then expect to be parking on the road out in front. Most of the year, that's not an issue, but of course, when you're plowing snow in the winter, then it does become an issue. And like I say, that's where those tenants would be expected, if they want to acquire a vehicle, they'd have to acquire off-site parking.
Melanie, if you want to.
I just wanted to note that there's no legal way that a landlord can only rent to someone who doesn't have a car. It's like renting to someone who doesn't have a cat. Tenants can have, you can't legally not rent to someone just because they have a motor vehicle. I just wanted to point that. I know what Mr. Good was just stating that, his client only rents to people who don't have motor vehicles, but that may or may not always be the case. And the concern that I have is exactly what he stated, that, come winter time, right downtown, and, we have trouble with vehicles all the time at night. during the winter months where people park and we can't properly maintain the roads. So that was my reason for,
Okay, but on the flip side, it doesn't prohibit the developer to advertise that he or she has a rental with no parking available.
that's true.
Because we see that often in other communities where they have a rental unit, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and it does stipulate that they have no parking available.
That is true. But if they get a car, well, you can't throw them out.
Okay, Chris, you're up. Chris and then Mr. LaBelle.
So I just have a few questions. So a concern first, like, so you say in Toronto and all these other places, people do it, they don't have cars, but we don't have any public transit whatsoever. And the grocery store is a good hike in the winter. So I kind of I've got a bit of difficulty with that argument. Can somebody just explain to me? So generally speaking, what we look for is 1.25, 1.25 lots, parking spaces per unit. I see that off the other sheet. Can somebody just sort of expand on that for me a bit? And then my next question would be the parking lot next door. That's the Royal Bank. And is that like, is there any possibility that they could possibly just lease a couple, because I doubt that parking lot is ever full for the bank. I mean, is there something that can be done that way? So those are my comments, concerns, and questions. Thank you.
That would be, through you, Mr. Chair, that would be a private arrangement between the owner and there. That's not a public lot. That's a privately owned lot. And they, as a building, they also have a requirement based on their square footage, and that they have to maintain their own parking requirements.
Okay, Mr. LaBelle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question was basically similar to what Mr. Fisher just mentioned, is that we don't have public transit available in the community. Therefore, people do have to have some sort of transportation to, except for banking, which is within walking distance. There used to be a grocery store two building down, but there's none anymore. So it would be very, hard on the people living there. They would have to take a taxi or something like that. That's my first part on that. Secondly, on the same issue, there's already, I believe, 4 or 5 tenants. They might not have vehicle right now, but if one of them decide to get a vehicle and there's no more parking space, what do we do with that? Does he have preference? We're looking at a dispute and a war and illegal parking on the street there. I'm very concerned with that issue. Thank you.
I have a question, Melanie.
Yes, Mr. Chair?
If we go across the north side of John Street, still on Main, isn't there a pile of parking there that the hospital, I guess, used to use on each side of the road? Isn't it wide there, and is there not parking available there?
Well, there is.
I remember, I haven't been
There
there.
is parking. You mean by the church, in front of the church?
Yeah, on the,
I know the street's a bit wider there, but I don't know that there's any special rules for the parking there. I believe that it's still subject to the overnight parking restrictions of the winter.
okay, it was just a thought. Madame Savage and then Dan.
Okay, I do know in the downtown core, there are commercial buildings where they have apartments upstairs. And you can look at the corner of, I believe it's the corner of King and Queen, where there used to be the Auchan clothing store. Upstairs, there are apartments and they don't have any designated parking space available. And there's also a commercial parking space downtown on King Street where if there's any tenants that really need parking, it's a privately owned, of course, but we already have some tenants within the core downtown that are in that same predicament. And they themselves, for the ones that did have vehicles, were also told that they needed to acquire parking and make arrangements for parking with privately owned individuals. So it's not going to be creating something new because it's already existing. And I think it is existing in most major downtowns.
Thank you, Madam Savage. Now, Dan?
My question is, I guess, Melanie, you're gonna have a hard time answering this because you may not know. Right now, the 6 apartments upstairs, is anybody designated parking? Because I know that for a fact, when I do go to bring my dog to be groomed, there seems to be always a bunch of cars parked in that. Are those people that are part of, the Moose? Are they part of Perfect? I know they're not, mainly they're not for the groomer, because the groomers, most of the people park on the street. So, but I know that there's vehicles there. So is there,
I'm unaware, through you, Mr. Chair, I'm unaware, Mr. Avita, whether that parking is designated for the commercial or the residential spaces. I just know that there is a limited amount on that particular site.
okay.
Who's next? Yvonne?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too have a problem with the parking issue. We do have a grocery store in town, this Giant Tiger. We're fortunate for that. And as Madame Savage mentioned, there are many commercial buildings that do have apartments and that don't have parking. Although there are some people that have private property that do lease out parking. We're fortunate for that. But it's still that particular corner is a long way from that parking area, but it still can be utilized. I just wish you had more parking. That's how I'm just generally concerned. I wish you had another 2 spots to park. Mel does have a point. I have an apartment building and I have ample parking in the back. But it's like you say, you want to rent your property, but yet you should be able to provide them with a parking spot. In the downtown, you'll generally get a lot of seniors or people without cars, and in my apartment block, I have 3 of them that do not have vehicles. So I don't know. We're not following the rules if we allow this to happen, but it's being done already now. So that's something we should consider as well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other, Mr. Pellerin?
Yes, like Mr. Fisher was saying at the beginning, it's iffy because it's right now commercial, part of it commercial, so people can park on the street, they won't be there long, whatever, no overnight parking, obviously. So being flipped to residential, I can see the point of Melanie and Mr. Rémillard having a problem with the snow removal at night. There is guaranteed going to be a problem with that because with all the increased resident, there's got to be more cars. So me too, I have a big problem with that.
Well, I'll go next, I guess, but my opinion is, I don't know, I think we need the rental units in town. I think there's a short supply. It's being done. I think if we advertise with no cars, I mean, if we get people with no cars, there's not an issue, right? If it's advertised that way, I don't know if that's legal, but if it's advertised as no cars, well, that's up to everybody to rent it or not. But I think there is a need for a rental unit, so I don't know. Anyways, does anybody else have any comments or somebody out in the crowd that wants to comment?
Well, the only comment I would make is just to reinforce your point, Mr. Chair, and add the component to it that these are very affordable rental units. These are people renting these that don't have a lot of other options. And the main floor ones will be more geared towards, like I say, either a larger 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom apartment, which is also in short supply in town. So I think it meets a real demand within the municipality. And if we're going to locate this type of residential unit anywhere in the municipality, the downtown core makes the most sense, where there is easy access to a lot of the services. Giant Tiger's probably 2 blocks from this site. And even if they wanted to go to the metro, taking a cab there and back once a week is certainly far cheaper than the cost of owning a vehicle with the insurance, the gas, the maintenance, the upkeep. So it fills a need in the community.
Thank you. Any other comments from anybody else, or is that it? Are we ready to proceed to a vote? I see Dennis there. I don't know if he's going to comment, or is he with you, Paul? No?
No, in fact, I only see the top of his head, so I'm not sure who Dennis is.
Same here. Okay, so he's not. So I guess he's not, he doesn't have any comments. Okay, we'll proceed to a vote. I guess you'll read the resolution and we'll go ahead.
Okay, so I'll just read the part again, that Schedule SF5 on bylaw 2014-45 shall be amended by changing the zoning designation of the property shown, which property is more particularly described as 161 John Street. No, it's 160. Is it 161 John? Yes, 161 John Street in Sturgeon Falls, being part of the west half of lot 19. No, lot 19 on the west side of Main Street. I'm sorry about that. So the intention is to change it from commercial exception zone 1 to residential 4 exception zone 3, which would address all of the things shown on the schedule, including legalizing all of the existing non-conforming setbacks, reducing the parking, and allowing residential on the main floor, which is not in the commercial zones.
Thank you. So all in favor of having the zoning change? I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4. You got 4 and against 3, I guess, or 2. So it's carried.
Carried.
Thank you.
Hello, guys. It's Dennis.
Yes. Yes,
Hey,
sir.
Dennis.
Okay, I just have a question. This is a new format for myself, and I'm online naturally tonight in regard to your meeting. And I'm looking at, we live just off Roy Street where there's a new format coming up for a subdivision. And maybe you can guide me as to when this is going to come up tonight as per our information sheet that we received.
Sir, it will be the third item. We have another item to deal with, which I don't think will take too long, and then we'll be getting to that one. So,
Okay, that's great. I will mute myself again. Thank you.
thank you, sir.
Can we have just a raise of hands, those who are in favor, because I want to make sure I did count that there's one frame with 2 people. So there's myself, 1, 2, 3. Is it Joanne and Fern? Did you guys have your hands up, or?
No,
Regarding what?
I'm just checking for the rezoning we just voted on.
Oh,
just wanna make
lifted my
sure-
hand.
I want to make sure I had the votes there.
Yeah, you had the votes correct.
no, Denis.
Huh?
No for me.
No,
No,
moi,
for you.
j'avais la main
Ouais.
levée.
Okay, so we're 4 and 3. Is that correct? Was it
Yes.
3? Okay. Thank you. It's carried then.
Okay. Next application. And mover and a seconder, please. Yes. Yvonne?
Where are we?
It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Yvonne Zahane, whereas a public meeting was held for the purpose of amending zoning bylaw 2014-45, the property located at 10537 Highway 17 in Verner, and whereas no written objections or concerns have been received, it resolved that the West Nipissing Planning Advisory Committee recommends or does not recommend the Council for the West Nipissing Municipality adopt the proposed zoning bylaw to rezone the property at 10537 Highway 17 in Verner, such that Schedule F31 of the zoning bylaw shall be changed by amending the zoning designation from RU to RU Special Zone 3. Through you, Mr. Chair, this application, as is indicated in my report, is to construct a secondary dwelling. What Mr. Poitras, the applicant, is proposing to do is his son is going to, I believe, move into the big dwelling, and he is going to build a smaller dwelling on the property and stay on the property with his family. That's all. This property is ample big and no issues with regard to size or density at all.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I guess you're recommending this?
Yes, I have no concerns with this one.
Okay, any comments on this rezoning? Dan?
I have a question for Melanie. Melanie, this was at one time a subdivision, not subdivision, but there was a subdivision plan.
That's
So
correct.
does this mean that the 11 lots that he was going to be considering as a subdivision will be nullified? And that we're just going to,
Yes,
Okay.
this was a subdivision that was actually created before the once a consent, always a consent came into being. It was actually not even done on a plan of subdivision. It was done with what's called a reference plan. It's
Okay.
how they did them in the old days, but no, they'd have to be severed in order to be. He bought them all in one chunk, so they would have to be severed if he was to ever try and take them apart again. They're too small actually for that area because there's no sewer and water up there. And
Okay.
those lots were very small.
okay, thank you for clarifying that.
It's-
Good. Any other comments? None? I guess we'll vote on the resolution there also.
I read it, so
Oh, all in favor of the rezoning? Okay, carried.
okay.
Try and keep up there, Melanie.
Okay, next application, mover and a seconder, please. Chris? No. It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Yvonne Zahane. Whereas a public meeting was held on March 8th for the approval of a draft plan of subdivision on property located on Roy Street in Sturgeon Falls, which is more particularly described as part of the north half of Lot 5 in Concession A in the former township of Springer, for property owned by 1369965 Ontario Limited and Rayal and Christine Marlowe. And whereas no written concerns or objections have been received, and whereas no, I believe, oral submissions will be made at the public meeting, be it resolved that the Planning Advisory Committee of the West Nipissing Municipality recommends or does not recommend draft approval of the plan of subdivision made by 1369965 Ontario Limited and Christine and Rayal Marlowe for property described as part of the north half of Lot 5 in Concession A in the township of Springer. Through you, Mr. Chair, this property, by way of history, it's an amalgamation of two properties. It was property that was actually owned by the municipality up until around 2014, when it was sold by public tender. And then a budding property, which was already owned by Mr. Marlowe. He didn't acquire the property, but has subsequently acquired the property that is abutting on Roy Street, which provides him with access to the waterfront portion, which he already owned. So you'll see there's kind of underlying dashed lines on the plan that was sent to you. So you'll see there was some lots already created. This would rejig the whole plan such that, and I think I've attached the wrong plan to this.
Mhm.
Oh,
You guys have the right plan in your package? I sure hope so. In any event, what is being proposed, I think, Paul, is what, 19 lots?
That's correct, but that includes the existing home.
Yes, and I missed, that's right. Mr. Marlowe does already live on the property that is down close to the river. And you'll see that the house is shown on the draft plan of subdivision that was in your package. So what is being proposed here is to divide the property into 19 residential lots, all of which are intended to be serviced with water and sanitary, municipal water and sanitary services. And obviously would be a condition of the subdivision that the property would be required to, the applicant would be required to provide both engineering as to how the water and sewer, stormwater, hydro installations, all of the usual accoutrements of a subdivision would be installed. So I will turn it over to, I guess, Mr. Goodrich, if he has anything to add.
The only thing I would add is you'll notice on the draft plan, there are boathouses in front of lots 15, 16 and 17. And those are going to be removed. There's also a block 20 on the plan, and that is going to be added to Rael's son, who owns the lot taken out of the northeast corner. We have an engineer that works with our firm on an as-needed basis, Antoine Boucher. We've looked at these lots already from the standpoint, because there are some physical challenges, whether or not we can have a gravity-fed septic system in this location. There's a few changes that need to be made, but it can be accommodated. We've done the due diligence ahead of time first to make sure that it could be engineered, and we know that we can satisfy those requirements. A couple of the lot sizes may be jigged in the final, just in order to make sure that we comply with some of the concerns that Sean Remillard brought up. We can increase the frontages of a couple of these lots quite easily and make them comply. On the existing town lot subdivision that was there, initially there were, I believe, 14 lots that now make up what Mr. Marlowe owns, because he also still owns parts 13 and 14, although they're not part of this subdivision. So we're actually reducing the number of lots in that location because of the requirement to hook the street up and to provide street access to Monsieur Marlowe's home on the property. So everything will be based upon water and sewer. It'll be full town services. Many of the lots front on the Sturgeon River. It will be completed most likely in 2 phases, with lots 1 through 9 being phase 1, and then the additional lots along the river being phase 2. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Just quickly, Paul, and I forgot to put this into my report. Sorry, Mr. Chair. I noticed that you've got no blocks on this plan. What is your intention with regard to parkland?
Parkland, it would be cash in lieu of parkland.
That's what you're proposing?
That's what we're proposing.
Okay. And that would be up to council to determine whether or not they want to take the cash or have the parkland. So.
Yep.
Yvon?
As you know, I'm very adamant about sidewalks. So and it's a subdivision plan, and then that better be considered. Sidewalks of some sort, and street lighting, adequate street lighting. And I just want to advise you before you bring in your plan to allow for that. The issues of the water and sewer is there. You've already had an engineer look into it, and that was an issue I had. But other than that, if it's there are pumps to make them work. So we'll see what happens when he brings the plan and see where they go from there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Yvon. Any other comments? Chris?
I just have a question what the what the building with the big flat roof at the end of the thing is before the plant?
Mm.
It's a commercial building of some sort, looks like.
It's the hydro building.
It's hydro. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay, we need to know, yeah, I think.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that's hydro. Okay,
that's,
Hey.
Sudbury Hydro, Greater Sudbury Hydro.
thank you.
Any other comments?
Yes.
So for the,
Mr. Chair.
sorry, Madam Savage, you're next.
Okay, just a quick question. Is that the specific road that's closed during the winter months?
No,
No.
Mr. Chair, this is the north end of Roy Street.
Okay.
When you go
okay,
down Third, instead of turning left, you turn right and head
Okay.
towards the river.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
Denny,
you. Yvonne, go ahead.
let's not forget the gentleman named Dennis.
Mr. Dennis.
Hello, guys.
As soon as we're done there, we'll, are we all done here with the councillor or the
No.
committee, I mean?
Can you
I'll go
hear
to,
Dennis?
Pardon me?
Can you hear Dennis?
Yeah, we're gonna go to Dennis now.
Okay, thank you. Hey, I'm an amateur at this. I'm just probably would like to direct a few questions, probably at Mr. Goodrich
Sure.
in regard to the Roy Street subdivision.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we actually have lot 20, which is adjoining your subdivision. My question is, on the lot plan, both lot 13 and 14 do not look like they're going to be, I guess, advanced on or planned on, whatever. My question is, why is that?
Okay, through you, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, I'll address
Sure.
that.
Go ahead.
The lots were already created as separate sellable lots, but they
Okay.
didn't have frontage on a municipally maintained road.
Okay,
So there was really no need to include those as part of the subdivision. They already have unique descriptions. They are capable of being sold as individual lots. And when Monsieur Marlowe bought them, he checkerboarded the lots in this area to make sure that they maintain their individual status. So even when we do the grading plans, they will be accommodated as part of the overall subdivision design. But right now, as long as we could provide a municipal road to front on, those lots are developable immediately. And we don't, once the road is in place, we can get building permits on those lots as well. So they are intended to be residential lots.
okay. But this will actually be separate from the development project, which is ongoing.
Correct.
Okay, because my question is that actually we're on lot 20, which backs on lot 13. And we have actually the lowest lot where we get a lot of water accumulation in the spring. So my question is, are there going to be like drainage issues with that property or not?
There will definitely be a lot grading and drainage plan done for the entire subdivision. And when we're
Okay.
doing that, because rather than doing a site specific, which we'll do anyway for parts 13 and 14, we'll
Okay.
accommodate that water as part of the subdivision design. So if there is stormwater issues with respect to those lots, by developing the lot 1 and lot 2 immediately next door in the new subdivision, gives us an opportunity to collect any water that's pooling at the rear of those lots and properly channel it away.
Okay, I have no problem with that. And like I say, and the only issue that we generally have is in the spring with the water meltdown, so whatever. And unfortunately, our lot being lot 20 backing on 13 and 14, yeah, is an issue for a few weeks or so with water pooling.
Correct, and we've had a crew out and taken topographic shots or elevation shots on the land. And there is a low point identified basically right in the middle of your lot, right, on the rear line. So also in the middle of part 13 on the rear line of 13. So as part of the overall drainage plan for the area, we will be looking at that situation and providing drainage from that lot through any easements that are created on the subdivision plan.
Okay, well, that definitely answers my question. I appreciate that. So to get back to it again, in other words, lot 13 and 14 are sort of privately owned, yes or no?
Well, they're owned by the same developer or his wife or a combination of the two. But they are outside of this subdivision. There was no need to resurvey them and pay for the application fees to include them as part of the subdivision when we already had them as separate buildable lots as it is, albeit without municipal road frontage right now.
That's fine. I really appreciate that. My one other question is that if they are not going to develop those as part of their lot plan, what is the long-range plan for those two lots?
Long ranges is actually short range. Those will be probably two of the first lots built upon as the road gets constructed in and covered under the subdivision agreement. That gives Monsieur Marlowe then the right to apply for building permits. So as soon as the road is brought to a standard that will support construction vehicles, then he would be issued building permits. So most likely those will be two of the first lots that are actually built upon and developed.
Okay. And not to go on with this, because I'm a bit naive when it comes to that. My question is, again, is why would it be that there's 21 lots, which I have no problem with, naturally? Why would out of 21 and they have two, why would those two lots be separate?
Well, because they were already created. When the municipality had the land, they basically subdivided it, but by way of a reference plan, as Melanie had described about the other site that was just being discussed. And then at one point in time, the town of Sturgeon Falls was actually the biggest developer in town, and they did it by way of these reference plan quasi subdivisions. The road never got built, and the backland got sold to Hydro for their facility instead, which meant that these lots, until Monsieur Marlowe bought them and provided a new street access through them with turn circles at the ends in order to be able to turn snow plows and school buses safely around, basically sat vacant, even though all of the lots were capable of being sold off individually. They were basically landlocked without any road frontage. Now with this subdivision, the road is being provided. They can be now developed.
Well, that totally answers my question now, and I respect you. And I'll tell you that we've been here for 18 years. And in the beginning, when we purchased our lot, which is lot 20, which borders 13 and 14, and we knew eventually they would develop it. My only curiosity was that the fact that the two lots behind us were not part of the 21 lot plan, which we definitely received in the mail. So that's my curiosity in regard to those two lots.
So you okay there, Dennis?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Chris, you're next.
Yeah, so I'm just got Google Earth out and zoomed in. So that the boat houses, boat infrastructure at the back of that, I assume that's something that he's privately renting at the moment, because that's, now I've zoomed in on it, I see how extensive it is. I mean, I'm looking at something like 20 boats and 6 boat houses, boat storage. Is that all private stuff, and that will just be kicked out of there? I guess my question is, do we need to extend, do we need to add on to Minnehaha Bay? Because other than going all the way down to Starlight Arena, there doesn't seem to be accommodation for those particular boats. Paul?
Well, those, yeah, to address that issue, and then I just zoomed in on Google Earth too to just to refresh my memory. Most of those boathouses now are currently being rented out. I believe some of them, the rents are now over on those in any event. But that is land that is owned by Monsieur Marlowe. So if he chooses not to extend any of the rental agreements or the leases, then basically it frees it up for development into the lots. So, and then if someone is interested, well, there are a number of lots now that have frontage on the river where they could reconstruct the boathouse themselves on their own lots, or they could be provided either through Minnehaha or one of the other private marinas along the river.
Thank you.
Melanie,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, the marina use is not a legal use because this property is actually zoned residential 1. So I didn't hear there was a marina down there tonight. Second thing, I was just in with Mr. Dennis's comments. Paul, I have some concern about those lots because those lots are not going to have, they're not going to be subject to the provisions of the subdivision agreement. And I'm glad you brought that up because with those lots, those 2 lots that were mentioned by the resident outside of the subdivision agreement, there's no requirement for the drainage, the lot grading, and all of the servicing to be addressed. Would your client be amenable to including them in the subdivision, just so that they are subject to the rules and regulations of all the other lots?
Well, they're still subject to all of the same rules and regulations because before we can apply for a building permit, we have to give you a lot grading plan, and we have to deal with the issue of what's happening with the water on site. So if there's easements that are required to channel the water as part of the subdivision, those can still be provided, or simply, building permits wouldn't be issued. So the servicing, once the servicing is at the front, they're too small to support their own individual septic systems. They're within the town limits, and once the sanitary sewers and water is available, they would be hooked up, but just through a private arrangement, the same way that if sanitary and water was extended down any street, that anyone not currently hooked up would then be able to hook into the systems. Because of the size, like I say, they can't support their own well and septics, so they will be brought in.
I just think for the orderly arrangement of the entire development, that it would make more sense to include them in the subdivision, even though, as you said, they already have descriptions. But right now, I think I would be requesting a site servicing agreement for each of them anyways. So why not just include them in the subdivision and then they're all covered under that? Just a thought. Like I said, I was listening to the residents' concerns and thought that it might be better to include them in the subdivision. That way you can do an overall drainage plan for the subdivision, not piecemeal.
I'll address that with Rael and seek his direction on it as well.
hey, Fern, do you have any comment there?
Yes, I'm just wondering if I think I got the right map. Part 20 is across the street from part 12 and 13, right? Or 13 and 14? Okay.
No, I think the gentleman his lot faces Roy Street, so you wouldn't be able to see it. It's kind of cut off at the bottom of the sketch.
Okay, there's a part 20 across the street.
Yeah. Down on that.
So are we looking at the right thing or?
Hang on a second, I'll just share the screen up again.
Dennis's lot fronts on 3rd Street, which isn't shown on the plan. but
It's
it's
down
just
here.
right at the very south border of the plan.
Okay, so it's not,
Okay, so what does it have to do with lot 13 and 14?
I think,
Well, the-
through you, Mr. Chair, I think what's, the gentleman is, his property's down here. And I think what he's concerned with is the fact that these two lots aren't inside the subdivision, but he's got a water ponding problem right here at the back of his lot and these two lots. And he was wondering why they weren't being included in the development. That's what his question was. And that's what I was just addressing with Paul.
Oh, say, okay, so we're not talking about the part 12 and 13 on the plan.
We're talking about this part 12 and 13 are the two lots that are outside of the subdivision. And then the gentleman, he's down here.
Okay,
but I see where Fern is going, because if you look at the upper part of the plan,
Oh, you mean the lot, the proposed lot
the-
13?
the-
yes,
No, no,
well,
that's not what we're talking about. We're
That's-
talking about this part 13 on there's an underlying old plan that we're talking about.
okay,
This section here.
okay.
okay. Okay, I see what you mean.
I can see it now,
Yeah,
but it's hard to see because I
So
was
that gentleman's
also,
backyard would be right in here.
okay,
Okay,
So
so
he's concerned about a water ponding problem in this section of his property fronts on Third Street. And he's worried about the water in the backyard.
and the two lots, sorry, Mr. Chair, the two lots that are not part of the subdivision agreement, can you show it on the map?
This
Is
one and
it-
this one.
part,
So it is 1 and 2?
Yeah, where the little hand is, goes to right there.
Okay, so we're looking at 1 and 2, which would be independent, not what's being proposed, it's not part of the subdivision.
Yeah, the new lot 1 would start here.
it's not 1 and 2, it's part 13 and part 14, eh?
That's correct.
We're looking at,
Yeah, but
Yeah,
what I'm
that's
saying,
correct.
the new lot, the new subdivision starts at this line right here.
okay,
These lots are outside of it.
So I guess it's these two lots here that are outside?
mhm,
part 13, part 14,
yeah,
the big arrow.
These two right here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And,
okay, and he's,
okay, go ahead.
okay, and he's part 20 on another plan of subdivision.
That's correct.
Okay, now we're,
There's
I'm lining up there.
a lot of hearts over there.
Okay. So I think he's gonna have a hard problem getting his water problem fixed.
That's why I had suggested to see if Mr. Goodrich would be interested in canvassing with his client to bring those other two lots in, and then they would be subject to the drainage provisions of the rest of the subdivision. And that would address Mr. Dennis's water concerns.
Yeah, but even then, if he's got a low part on his land, there's not too much you can do.
But we
Whatever.
can direct some of the water from the subdivision lot behind him. We can direct it towards the street
Okay,
by bringing that lot up, so. Just a thought.
okay.
Any, Mr. Roberge?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I've been listening to those concern about those two parts, and I believe we could make it part of the the motion supporting that subdivision, that they include both those parts. I believe it's 13 and 14. They're the right name for them.
That's correct.
That they be added to the subdivision, so they would fall under all the same development requirements like drainage and all in one document, instead of having three documents to approach the problem. Like I have those two parcels being dealt with individually plus the subdivision. So I think for good planning, I do, after reflection, support the concept that we should have those two included in the subdivision.
Chris,
Sorry, it's because we were here so long, it looks harder now. So I see, now I'm looking, and the L-shaped building, which looks like a boathouse to me, that's not going to be developed. And I'm just interested, so I guess I'm in lot 21. What is that? I can't really make it out. What is the other thing that appears to be a structure or something in lot 21? The L-shaped building, boathouse, I get, but what's that other thing?
This thing?
In lot-
No, I'm looking at the plan. So I'm back on the other, so I can't try to touch the thing. No, yes. So the L-shaped building is staying on lot 21. What's that other structure on lot 21?
That's Rail Marlowe's home.
Okay, thank you.
So, Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
name and telephone number?
I can find it in our system.
Okay,
I know where he lives. I can find him.
Permits for them. But right now, no building permit could be issued. Give us the opportunity to bring them in if necessary. But I really don't see the necessity of it.
okay, thank you. Any other comments?
so what I understand in summary is that the two lots that are not part of the proposed subdivision is that the developer wishes still some work that needs to get done so it can come back for final approval. So if those two lots are part of the subdivision, does that mean it will delay any potential construction that the owner wanted to do on those two lots?
Question is for who?
For you,
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Chair, there is no road there right now. There's nothing. He would have to build the road and bring in because they have no services, no frontage, no access.
Okay. So it's not good, so
It wouldn't hold anything up.
it's not gonna hold up anything, but it's just two different legal entities for those two parcels and the subdivision.
It does take away the buyer's protection of the subdivision agreement. And sorry, Paul, but when you buy a property that's the inside of a subdivision, it comes with a certain set of rules. And this is the layout. It comes with this drainage plan. The engineering is laid out with that lot. So those lots would be sort of, they'd just be orphan lots getting all the benefit of the subdivision, but not being part of the agreement to build it.
Paul?
Well, no, that's entirely correct. But of course, these lots were sold to the original private owners as individual lots, even though they couldn't be built upon. At least in this case, now we have a developer who's going to bring the road in. He's going to bring in the services. And until he does, the lots can't get developed. So they are tied to the subdivision, but they really don't have to be part of the subdivision. If these were two lots that the town had sold to anyone else other than Monsieur Marlowe, they would definitely be getting the benefit of Monsieur Marlowe spending the money on the road. At least in this case, Monsieur Marlowe is the one spending the money. He's the one getting the benefit of being able to sell the lots individually.
Melanie?
I just wanted to clarify, when the municipality put the land up for tender in 2014,
As is, whereas
the property, one of the conditions of the tender was that the owners would have to enter into what's called a site servicing agreement, which is essentially a subdivision agreement. So those lots were always intended to be part of a development that the municipality would have some control over how they were developed. So I would recommend that they be included in. That would be my recommendation. I think it's a more orderly way of developing them. Plus also it protects the buyers of those lots by being part of the overall development and having the benefit of the subdivision agreement should there be an issue with the developer.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Dan hasn't commented.
Mr. Chair, I think we had a proposal from Norm, Mr. Roberge, saying that he would like us to amend it to include the fact that the two lots be part of the subdivision agreement. So, and as Melanie supported or explained, it does provide protection to the people that are going to purchase the land in the future.
Thank you,
Are you
Dan.
putting that in the form of a formal motion, Mr. Rivera?
Just, I was just gonna wait till the end and have two votes on that, Dan, make sure if we include the two lots or not. And
Can
then we'll vote, but yes, I'll go to Madame Savage.
Point of clarification, so there's a proposed amendment on the floor to incorporate those two lots in the subdivision agreement. Now, assuming that the actual owner does not support that, what's the mechanism for them to come back to planning and say, we want to have those two lots separate from the subdivision agreement? What's going to be the step for them, and what's going to be the cost for them in being able to proceed?
Well, this is a recommendation to council, so ultimately this request, by next Tuesday, I would know whether or not that this committee can recommend or not recommend. I would know by next Tuesday whether or not the developer agrees. And we would put the subdivision draft plan on the floor for council to discuss and determine which way it wanted to go.
Okay, but I guess what I'm asking is, since the consultant is with us, since the applicant made the request for the subdivision excluding those two lots, and if we amend the subdivision to incorporate them, but let's say for a valid reason whatsoever, the fact that they're under different ownership, if the developer says, no, we're not interested, we bought those two lots as is, what's their mechanism as recourse?
They can appeal council's decision. to the
Okay,
LPAT.
that's what I wanted to find out.
Denny?
Fern, go ahead.
Yeah, me too. I was just thinking like, it's under complete different ownership.
Mhm,
So we can't really force them to,
mhm.
if it'd be a stranger, we couldn't do that, so. Okay, Mel's got,
They're not under completely different ownership. A number of these lots, when they purchased this land, they checkerboarded it. So it's in Mr. Marlowe, Mrs. Marlowe numbered company, Mr. Marlowe, Mrs. Marlowe numbered company. And all three of them are applicants for this subdivision. These just happen to be two lots in two different names outside, but there's no, it's not a separate entity. Both of those people are also parties to this application.
okay,
Chris?
Sorry to belabor this point, but Paul, could you just explain to me, from a business dollars and cents point of view, why the applicant would be resistant to putting these two lots into the sub agreement, just so I can understand from the other side of the fence?
It's, as far as I can see, it's just simply financial, that they already have the lots created. So to go through a subdivision, we're basically, by subdividing, we're giving them the right to do something that they already have the right to do. But as part of the subdivision now, we have to make sure that all of the survey bars are up to date, and there's additional survey costs. I don't think it's.
Don't you have to verify all that monumentation anyways?
No. Once the reference plan is created in the registry system, it can be used at any time without further verification. Now, before you go to build, if you're going to be close to your setbacks, yes, you have to do that, or you should do that. But like I said, I don't think this is a deal breaker either way. It's not a major issue. And really, for the amount of time we're spending on it, I don't think it's going to be an issue either way for the client.
Okay.
So if it is a recommendation, I think we'll live with that. But right now, I just none of us really from our end saw the need for it. And it just added a little bit to the cost of doing the subdivision. The drainage issue, we were still going to have to resolve anyway, because it would still impact on our lot 1. So
Okay.
if it's a condition, it's a condition.
Thank you for your answer, Paul.
No trouble.
So is it possible to just, Melanie, to have a vote on Mr.
On the amendment?
Roush? On the amendment, then we'll proceed on the vote for the subdivision.
Okay, so the motion was on the floor, I think made by Mr. Roberge for the amendment. Did I have a seconder for the amendment? Mr. Duhane? Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to include parts 13 and 14 on Plan 36R 8394 in the plan of subdivision.
All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Carried.
Motion carried.
Yes.
So the resolution would be amended to include the legal description being part of the north half of Lot 5 Concession A and including parts 13 and 14 on Plan 36R 8394 as part of the plan of subdivision.
That's correct.
So if I may, Mr. Chair, the plan of
Yes.
subdivision is going to increase from 19 to 21.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Have you read the resolution?
I did.
All in favor?
We voted.
No, but this is for the whole shebang.
Right.
We voted on the amendment, now we're voting on the zoning,
Motion.
the subdivision.
Okay.
Okay, carried.
Last regular item on the agenda is another application by owners in the subdivision in Verner. Once again, we've seen a few of these where they want to take the center lot and they want to split it so that each of the lots on either side is a little bit bigger. As a result, they need to be deemed not to be lots on plan of subdivision. So can I get a mover and a seconder for those, please?
Sure.
Dan?
No.
It is moved by Dan Revita and seconded by Norman Rivera, whereas the owners of lots 7, 8, and 9 on registered plan 36M 598 have applied to the West Nipissing municipality to have the lands deemed not to be lots on the registered plan of subdivision pursuant to section 50 sub 4 of the Planning Act. Therefore, be it resolved that the West Nipissing Planning Advisory Committee recommends that council for the West Nipissing municipality adopt the bylaw deeming lots 7, 8, and 9 on plan 36M 598 not to be lots on a registered plan of subdivision. And this has a concurrent application with the Committee of Adjustment at the next meeting to split that lot 8.
Okay, any comments? It's pretty clear cut.
That one's pretty straightforward.
Is somebody trying to reach us, Melanie? Is your-
Probably people are starting to come in for the
Oh,
next meeting,
okay.
so.
So we'll, all in favor of this separation? Carried.
Okay, last item on the agenda is a very draft copy of the proposed amendments to the West Nipissing regular zoning bylaw to include the provisions for the recreational vehicles, which council has been working on for a little while now. So as I said, this is extremely for discussion. It's not it can't really be debated per se until we go to public consultation, but the purpose of this is to see whether or not I've captured, I believe, the spirit and intent of where we were going with this. And it's been a long time, so please forgive me if I've missed something or misremembered something. It's been a bit of a crazy year.
Okay, thank you, Melanie. Any comments on the camper trailer? Chris?
So to you, Melanie, so this particular thing is not the bylaw. This is the amendment to support the bylaw in the zoning. So any talk of registration, grandfathering, all that kind of stuff would not be in this particular document. Is that correct?
I didn't quite, you talked, I believe that council had made a decision that they weren't interested in going towards a registration.
Right, I understand that.
This is strictly land use.
Yes, so but that's my point. My point is,
Yeah.
even if we were, it wouldn't be in this document.
No, it would be a standalone, a different document, which
That
may
would be-
contain some of the same provisions, but a different, this is strictly the West Nipissing zoning bylaw amendments.
And this is an amendment to the bylaw, yeah?
Yes,
Okay,
the
thank
big
you.
46-page document. It would just
Got
be
it.
adding new sections.
Got it, thank you.
Okay.
Joanne?
I think Mr. Pellerin maybe was before me.
Okay, go ahead, Fern.
Yes, Melanie, in section 433, you say that no vehicle shall be closer than 15 meters from any property line.
That was a recommendation that council had, I think, agreed upon or mostly agreed upon, if I recall correctly. So that's why it is included in here.
It makes no sense. A lot of lots don't even have that width.
And I believe that was brought up at the council table when it was discussed, Mr. Pellerin. My direction was to incorporate the majority, the recommendation of the majority into the proposed amendment. So that's what is here. If this committee wants to recommend something different, that's entirely within their purview.
Because we're talking about 30 meters total. Most of the lots in my area from Loving to Cache Bay are 75 feet at the front. A lot of them don't have even that at the back. And a lot of people have a trailer used for a visit or family or would that be, if somebody is set up that way, would that be?
It would be like anything else, Mr. Pellerin. We have lots of people who apply to build on lots that are not the right size, and then they come before this committee or the other committee for minor variances to the bylaw when they own something that they can't comply. It happens fairly regularly, and they would certainly be capable of coming and making that same sort of an application, and if they were not able to meet the required setbacks.
Yeah, but by doing this, like 50 meters, 30 meters, there's not one lot that you could do that on without having another variance. So to me, that's a cash grab.
Yeah, but maybe I can answer that.
Go ahead, Joanne.
Okay, if I recall correctly, the setback from the water was the same setback as a new build, new construction, which is,
18 meters.
oh, okay, well, so it's 15 meters from the shoreline.
Yeah, that's
And
okay.
then it was identified, the same setback on the side. And it was mentioned also, I thought that we had maybe a specific clause in the event that some lots don't, because it was identified that some people, they had a road even that separated their parcel along the shoreline. And what if it was bedrocks in the back? Did we have anything that made reference that these individuals would have to apply for a minor variance?
Well, we don't need to put that into the bylaw. That's just how any
Okay.
non-complying lot proceeds under any circumstance. When we receive a permit, if someone wants to put up a house and the line's too close, they come before us to reduce the setback from 18 meters to 14 meters or whatever we do. But that happens by way of minor variance all the time. You don't have to include it in, it's just how it's dealt with.
Okay, and when I reviewed it, we had stated that there'd be a grandfather clause to ensure that no one, they still needed to have the environmental issues that they needed to meet, but we weren't looking at dismantling the pre-existing as long as they met all the conditions for the requirements for environment. As far as all the requirements for new ones. So There
So
was
just-
an issue about grandfather clause. We
So
had
by-
stated,
So when I do the enacting, the take effect, so what we will do is it'll be stated that this bylaw shall take effect. Obviously, new bylaws, when someone's already there, it just automatically happens that they are grandfathered. As long as they can demonstrate that they were there prior to. That's how we have lots of houses on streets downtown that are way too close to the sidewalk and this and that. So, and they're what's called legal non-conforming. The existing situations would become legal non-conforming, save and except if they had an illegal septic set up, that wouldn't be allowed to continue just because they already had it. Is that correct?
well, my understanding was that they needed to comply with environmental issues, as long as that was correct, and that there would be grandfather clause for the pre-existing, because we are aware of some locations where they do exceed the allotted numbers that are identified in the proposed bylaw.
And that again happens automatically when you pass a bylaw.
Okay,
Anything that was going on before automatically grandfathers. Except I will put a specific statement that if they have an illegal septic situation, that won't be allowed to continue as legal non-conforming, correct? Is that what we want?
Yeah.
Like they have to comply with the clauses that I've included about the dealing with their gray water and their black water.
Nobody would be grandfathered from environmental
mhm,
Okay, I get it.
sense. Yeah.
yeah.
Chris, you're next.
So, just in relation, I just got French Rivers up, and there's actually basically they no, not on waterfront, residential, non-residential, well, nowhere really. And actually, there's no grandfather. They specifically state you're done as of, like, that's in their stuff. So I think because it's trailers, they're movable buildings. So do they really have an automatic grandfather clause? You know, because they're movable. So, and the other thing about grandfathering is without some kind of registration, it's just impossible to grandfather, because I can say I've had that trailer there forever, whether I have or whether I haven't, and you can't prove it. So anyway,
But there's no grandfathering in the septic, so you can't get away from it. You have to
Mhm.
comply. Who was next, Dan? Dan Yvon?
Yeah.
Yeah, my comment was along the line as Chris's. Regardless of grandfathering or not, you can't even talk about grandfathering when we don't even have a registration. So how do I know whether that trailer was there 20 years ago, or it was there last year? So to talk about grandfathering, I think is a mute statement.
Doesn't matter if they were there 20 years. Sorry, Dan. Go ahead.
But that's been my opinion from the beginning, and that's all I'm saying. Thank you.
But all I'm saying that I like is that there's no grandfathering for the environmental part.
Oh yeah, I agree.
So there's no issues. You do have it or you don't, right? So
Mhm.
that's a starter
Right.
anyways. But Yvon was next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It was clearly indicated that we were going to have a meetings, public meetings with regards to the changes to be done. And I'm sure I'm going to be for sure adamant on that. I want to make sure that we do have public meetings. And this will obviously have to happen when COVID is controlled. And this is, I'm very adamant on that. And also, I agree. There are things in here that I don't agree with, and 15 meters doesn't make any sense in any way. But like I said, once we've had the public meetings, they'll clarify things, and we'll see where we'll have to go with that then. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Melanie?
I just wanted to, my next question when we finish this conversation and we were reasonably comfortable with the proposed terms is I had previously proposed that we start the public consultation electronically the way we are with, like the way we did with the police by using the internet, but perhaps let's finish talking about the body of it, and then we'll move on to get a consensus on how we're going to move forward.
Hey, Chris,
Because yes, this has to go to the
Yeah.
public.
So I just actually want to agree with Yvonne because I think this is one thing
Mr.
that,
Chair, we're talking about the actual document. We're not at the point of the public consultation yet.
no, we're just commenting. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
but
Chris.
may I finish?
Yes,
So, yeah, so I kind of agree with Yvonne because I think this is, it's a very hot topic, very contentious. And it's a no-win situation. So I do think that this is something that needs to be left until people can actually get back together in a room, in public meetings and hash things out. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, Joanne,
well, okay, the issue of the bylaw of French River doesn't apply in this case. We have to follow the process and we have our own procedures on how we do business. What has been presented, as a draft to the Planning Advisory Committee is discussions that took place at council and that council debated every issue and voted on every issue. Then we had this draft that was formalized in May. And of course, it does require a zoning amendment. We had our planner that provided us with a plan. I believe that was back in November. And it stated the steps pertaining to the consultation. And the consultation, there'd be documentation that would be available at different sites within the municipality. There would be advertisement in the newspaper. There would be online where people would be able to submit their questions and concerns. And then we'd have an open forum via Zoom if we're not able to meet in person. To say not to proceed with public consultation, right now we have trailers that are surfacing at different locations without even knowing whether or not if it does impede on the environment. There's still some residents out there that have identified trailers that do not meet the environmental conditions, and their enforcement officer had no leeway, no leverage to be able to enforce it. I think coming in the camping season this summer, this is going to be 2 years in the works. We need to be able to have a bylaw in place sooner than later. And just by delaying it, we're not doing a favor to anyone, and we're doing a major disfavor to the ones that are identifying problems.
thank you, Joanne. Madam Clerk,
Yes?
is it possible to have public consultations and having mostly all people involved through the internet, the advertising? Is there an issue? Do
I
you see
would-
an issue?
For this, I would be my recommendation that we have a dedicated meeting. That's just dedicated for that. There's no other planning matters on the meeting. I would suggest that we advertise it in the paper. We put it on the news. We put it on our website. Right now, everything's closed, so there's no real place to put anything written because everything's closed. We can certainly avail ourselves of the newspaper, the internet, and the radio for advertising. I would recommend that we have at least a month of people being able to provide comments. And we can set up a portal on our website where they can type in their comments right on the website if they want, or bring in a letter in the Dropbox at the front, or send me an email. There's a variety of ways that people can have their comments heard, and we'll have a meeting just like this with everybody who wants to have something to say publicly, just the way we're doing right now. It might be long, but we can still do it.
Comments. We'll go to Dan, then Yvonne, then Fern.
I tend to agree with Councillor Fisher on this. I think this is an issue that's been batted around for a long time. And that I think that individuals should have the chance to meet in person to do this. The fact that you would extend it by a month is not going to do any more than anything. You're going to get a lot of people that do not want to submit something in writing because that's not the nature of people. They'd like to come out and see and hear it. So I'm not of the opinion that that would be a good idea. And that's just my,
Okay, thank you.
And if I may, Mr. Chair,
Sorry, I think it's Yvonne that's next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I tend to agree with Dan and Mr. Fisher. Although I understand Madame Meredith's concerns about what's happening right now. Maybe there's another way we can deal with it. Maybe any new trailers coming into play will have to wait until something can be done. But I do agree. We've spoken to the people firsthand, and I think we should speak to them again to allow them the opportunity to voice their opinion. And I think, with the viruses controlled and whatnot, I think we can see ourselves fairly soon having an open meeting and publicly. That's what I'd like to see, and that's what I've always wanted to see. Thank you.
I think, sorry,
Have
thank you,
a-
Yvonne. Who was next? Fern, I think.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, can we
Yes.
just let the people know for the 7:30 meeting that we're just a little bit behind and we'll get to them? So anyone who's on the line now for the Committee of Adjustment meeting starting at 7:30, we're just finishing up a discussion of a previous meeting. So if you're just patient, we'll be with you soon.
Yeah, we'll wrap this up here.
With
Fern.
any- wait,
Fern,
I agree that these should be, these meetings should be in person for sure. There's no rush for that. And if there's an issue with somebody that's abusing whatever, they can call the MNR. The MNR, if they get a complaint, they have to go. Maybe Metawa Conservation don't have to go, or the MOE, but the MNR they have to go investigate. So on that side, there's no rush.
okay, thank you, Fern. I'm just gonna wrap it up. So Melanie, I have, I'm in favor of waiting, so we're 5 that are in favor of waiting. So that's how we'll proceed.
Mr. Chair, I want to ask a procedural issue.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, and I want to be able to get clarification on the question. Procedurally, council recommended that the Planning Advisory Committee proceeds with the consultation. So when that recommendation comes from council, so procedurally, are we going against the wish of what council recommended to the Planning Advisory Committee? Conseiller Dan, I'm not asking you the answer, the answer. I'm directing it to the clerk. Recommended.
Mr. Chair, I don't recall whether council ever had the conversation about, I think council directed the Planning Advisory Committee to move forward with the consultation, but I don't know whether there was ever a specific time stipulated.
I would recommend that we listen to the meeting of May, where
I
that discussion did take place. And the question was asked, which body will do the consultation? Some people were in favor that council proceeds with a consultation, and the majority said no, we'll return it to the Planning Advisory Committee so they proceed in doing the consultation. So are we going against the governing body that provided the recommendation to the Planning Advisory Committee?
Well, Joanne, I think that I was there at the council and I didn't hear that, but I'm saying that the council did not put a timeline on our actions. So it's
I'm
up to
not
us.
saying that.
It's up to us as, excuse me, it's up to us as a committee to set our guidelines. And I think if the majority of the committee wants to go one direction, we should follow that. And if council doesn't like it, well, it's too bad.
Well, if I may, Mr. Chair, I never
Yes.
set a timeline, but I'm asking procedurally, if
Point
an
of order,
issue,
Chair. I think that you've already made a decision. We voted on it. You have the support from the committee. Let's move forward, please, because we have another committee meeting coming on. And I think that this is, the decision has been made.
whether or
Thank you.
not the decision is made, I'm asking a procedural question and I'd like to be able to have an answer. So what I'm saying is, if council directed this to the Planning Advisory Committee to do the consultation, are we binded by doing the consultation, yes or no? That's what I want to find out.
Through Mr. Chair, there was no resolution of council. It was a direction given at committee. That council proceed with the planning advisory committee proceed with public consultation. As the chair indicated, there was no specific timeline placed on that or specific method. I think it was just sent back to the planning advisory committee to carry it out. And from what I'm hearing tonight, this committee wants to hold on until we can go back to public meetings. I think that's what I'm hearing.
And I think, Madam Clerk, we will do that. And if we're not procedurally correct, we can come back and revisit it at the next meeting. But for now, let's put it on hold until we can meet in person. That's what the committee is.
So my direction is that this bylaw amendment is going to be held in abeyance until we can
Yes.
go back to a full
Yes, I think-
in-person public consultation.
Yes, and if it's not proper procedure, well, we'll revisit it next meeting. Okay,
Well, this committee, this is a recommending committee to council, so it's kind of a council gave it to planning and planning's recommending back to council.
No, we're not.
That's my take on it.
no, we're not recommending back to council. We're just saying if we're out of, the procedure is not correct, we'll revisit the procedure. But for now, we're gonna proceed as the committee voted for, which is the majority wants to hold it, put it on hold until there's physical abilities to meet.
So in conclusion, Mr. Chair, if anyone asks the status, the update of this draft bylaw, we're just going to state that right now it's in the hands of the Planning Advisory Committee, and that the Planning Advisory Committee will proceed with consultation once we can reconvene in-person meetings.
That's correct.
And it's not going to put the proposed draft null and void, assuming, i.e., that this consultation can't take place in 6 months from now.
No, there's no limit here. We haven't imposed a
The
limit.
proposed draft would just sit in abeyance. The proposed draft can't go anywhere until it's publicly consulted on anyways.
So I think we're duty bound to, well, the council will have copies of the minutes of this meeting, so they're going to be duly informed that the consultation is on hold until we can have public meetings.
Correct.
Thank you.
And to adjournment.
Need a
Moving a
resolution to
seconder?
adjourn?
Norm? Chris? It is moved by Norman Roberge and seconded by Chris Fisher. Be it resolved that the West Nipissing Planning Advisory Committee meeting of April 12th, 2021 be adjourned to May 10th, 2021.
All in favor? Carried. Good night.
Good night.
Nice. Melanie, can I just get 2 minutes?
Yes, this meeting ran a little long. If those are on the line, just be patient for a couple of minutes so that some people can excuse themselves for personal break just for a sec. That would be great. So maybe 5 minutes, Chris,
Sounds good.
at work?
Okay, thank you.
There you are. I thought you left, Paul. Five-minute break.
Good evening, Mel. Bonsoir.
Good night, Joanne. So I'm going to excuse myself for a second.
Ça donne, tu veux me faire un café? Ouais, parce que là, mon meeting va commencer dans une minute. Là.
Bonjour, Roger.
Ah, bonsoir.
Ça va bien?
Oui, ça va très bien.
Good.
Toi, là, au bas du lac, il n'y a plus de
Ah,
glace
ça
là, à ton bout?
C'est quoi?
Il reste-tu de la glace à ton bout?
Hey, dans mon fridge.
Ouais.
Mon scotch.
Bonne réponse.
Ah, ouais. Le scotch, tu peux le mettre juste dans l'armoire, rien que la glace dans le fridge.
On
Oui,
a
oui,
pas-
c'est ça.
Crushed ice.
Ouais.
Oups. Oh, oh. C'est que mon portrait est parti. Là. Êtes-vous là,
ouais.
vous autres, encore?
Ouais,
Ouais.
oui.
On
On
te voit
doit-
encore.
Moi, je ne vois plus personne. Là. Je ne sais pas ce qui se passe.
Ah,
Ah, j'ai de la misère avec ça ici. Caroline, qu'est-ce qui se passe là?
Nous autres, on tweet.
Vous moyez, vous autres?
Ah ouais.
Oui.
Moi, j'ai une annonce. Scheduling Médisier, je ne sais pas du tout ce que ça devient, ça.
On ne pas moins.
Caroline, ça me donne de la misère ce soir. Qu'est-ce qui se passe là?
tu Roger, t'as-tu manqué ta Floride cette année?
Absolument.
Oui, hein?
Absolument. Ça a été
Bon.
trop long, mais que veux-tu? On s'est gardé occupé, fait un petit peu de pêche.
Ah oui. Parce que t'avais pas une place là-bas, hein, là-bas?
Oh, oui,
Oui, OK.
oui. T'espérer l'année prochaine.
Ouais, hein?
Ou cet automne, je devrais dire.
Ouais.
Une fois que tout le monde se fait vacciner.
Is Mr. Fisher back?
Oui. Tu as-tu été, Roger, tu as-tu été comme c'est là, vacciné?
Non, non, je suis trop jeune.
Oui, trop jeune.
Non, nous autres, ça va bien être au début de mai ou au milieu de mai, je pense.
OK.
We can register at the pharmacy.
Yeah, but that's for the AstraZeneca.
Yeah. I don't want the AstraZeneca.
I'm going to St. Charles on May 6th for the other one.
I'd
I've heard
take a vaccine
that
made of cheesy dust right now.
What's that?
I said I would take one if it was made of cheesy dust right now, just to
Not
get
me.
a vaccine.
Can you hear me, you guys?
We
yeah.
Ouais, j'ai perdu le portrait.
we can see you.
Oui, mais moi, je ne vois pas personne. Je vous entends, mais je ne vois plus personne.
Okay.
Tout ce que j'ai, c'est marqué scheduling made easy, make it fast, make it easy, add Zoom meeting. C'est comme une annonce, mais je sais pas ce
Just
qu'il
check
appelle.
in the bottom, Mr. Norm, check at the bottom. Is there a little blue icon?
A little blue icon, yeah?
Hover over it. Do you see your meeting under one of them?
Oh, no, there it says open support chat. I don't think that's what we want.
Because you're definitely here. We can see.
Oh,
your
no, I
meeting.
see you. Let's see, I'll
Oh.
press that here. Oh, there you are.
There we
Hi.
The big
We're all here.
revelation.
Okay, so it looks like we're all back.
Okay,
We're
so
all learning on the fly.
we're all back. So I'll call this meeting to order. And is there any declaration of pecuniary interest? Hearing none. Okay, and if you should come across an item where you feel you have one, you can declare on the go. We'll go on to item 3, the approval of the agenda for this meeting. Did you have a
Mover and a
motion,
seconder.
please?
Chris. E. Dennis. It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Denise Senecal. Be it resolved that the agenda for the West Nipissing Committee of Adjustment meeting of April the 12th, 2021 be adopted as presented.
Everybody in favor as circulated? I see all hands are yes, carried. We'll go on to the adoption of the minutes of the March 8th meeting, please.
Mover and a seconder. Roger. Chris. It is moved by Roger Gagnon and seconded by Chris Fisher. Be it resolved that the minutes of the West Nipissing Committee of Adjustment meeting held on March the 8th, 2021 be adopted as presented.
Okay, so any amendment, correction, or notices? Hearing none, we'll vote on it as circulated. Everybody in favor? Carried. Okay, now we'll go on to the minor variance applications themselves. Before I start.
We skipped,
Hmm?
we skipped the agenda there, or?
No, yeah, we approved it.
Oh,
So maybe you missed it. I'm going too fast. Sorry, I'll go slower. Okay.
no, that's okay. Keep it up.
That's okay. So for the information of the public participating in this meeting, this is classified as a quasi-judicial meeting. Therefore, to be able to make sure that everybody that are concerned fully understand the process, if because the meeting is going to be carried in English, feel free to ask for explanation in French. Every committee member is fluent with French, and we will make sure that you understand what is going on. Secondly, the municipal planner will present the application. If there's a consultant or somebody representing the applicant, they will explain his position. Otherwise, usually the municipal planner does a brief explanation of it. The committee members do discuss the different aspect of the thing, and they ask questions, and then it's open to the people that are in attendance that have received notice. Please state your name and address, because the municipal planner does record everybody that has participated, and this is to protect your right if you're not satisfied with the decision, whether you can appeal to the provincial tribunal. So I believe that covers all the issue. So we'll start with the first one, C-1621, with Madame Jean, please present it.
You get a mover and a seconder, please.
Pardon me?
Dennis. It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Denise Senecal that a consent application made by Robert and Leanne LeBlanc for the creation of a new lot on vacant land located as part of Lot 3 in Concession B in the Township of Springer in West Nipissing. Through you, Mr. Chair, this property is located on, where are we? We're on Canal Road. You'll see that the property is quite a large property. It's a mile deep. And what is being proposed is to take out a lot of just a little over a hectare, just about in the center of the property on Canal Road. No, not on Canal Road. I'm wrong. Marlow Road, Canal Road.
Nipissing.
That'd be
Nipissing.
Nipissing Street. Yes, indeed. I apologize. So this property fronts on 3 streets. So yes, on Nipissing Street, sort of about midpoint of the property. The proposed lot meets all of the criteria for frontage and area. There's no zoning restrictions at this particular location, and there were no concerns raised by any departments.
So do any committee member have any question or comments to make on it? I'm not hearing anyone.
Yeah,
Is
I have a
there-
question.
Yes, Mr. Fisher.
So quickly, Melanie, what is the purpose of this? Is this severance to sell the lots? Is that the idea?
Residential, it's residential lot.
Okay,
The application is being put forward by the daughter of the owner.
thank you.
And from the, what were documentation would appear to be where there's a kind of a bush area or something like that in the
That's
middle of the farm property?
Yep,
So it's not affecting any agricultural land, basically.
and this land is zoned rural in any event, so
Yeah, it is, and but for those that have concern about removing agricultural land from the inventory, that has no effect on it because I believe it's where the bush area almost come to the road, right?
that's correct.
So, any other comments or question? Anybody in the public? Because I don't see everybody. I see there's some phones open. Nobody has any questions. So I will, without further ado, I'll bring to a vote. Every member, everybody satisfied in favor of it as circulated? I see yes all over the place. Carried. Will you please go on to C17, please?
Any mover and a seconder? Chris, Rodney? It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Raji Gagnon that a consent application made by Michelle Holdings for a lot addition on Lot 8, Plan 36M 598 in the Caldwell Township. Through you, Mr. Chair, this is a concurrent application with a deeming bylaw that was heard earlier tonight by the Planning Advisory Committee. This company owns 3 lots on a registered plan of subdivision, and what is being proposed here is to split the center lot and to add half of that center lot to each of the abutting lots, such that the 2 lots on either side would become a bit larger. The Planning Advisory Committee has already recommended or approved the proposed deeming bylaw to take these out of the registered plan of subdivision. So that's where we are.
Yeah, and to the added information of the members, I believe that is the 4th or 5th application, a similar application in that subdivision, because originally the lots were created kind of narrow, and the public, prefer larger one because these are all substantial sized buildings going in that subdivision. Any comments or question from the members? Hearing none, I'll ask, is there anybody in the public that have any question or comments? Hearing none, I'll call it to a vote. Everybody in favor as presented? Carried. Can we go to please 1821, please?
Mover and a seconder?
Oh, sorry, I went too fast.
Dennis?
Yeah.
Chris? It is moved by Denise McCall and seconded by Chris Fisher that a consent application made by the estate of Claude Loxy to create 2 new lots at 28 Levert Drive, being part of Lot 1 in Concession 2 in the Township of Springer. Through you, Mr. Chair, the sketch will indicate what is being proposed is to create 2 residential lots, each of which has the required area and frontage on the Sturgeon River. These are located on the traveled road known as Levert Drive. And I don't know if Mr. Miller has any further wisdom to share with us.
I think you've covered it all there. They both the severed and retained properties exceed the minimum sizes and areas. So it's fairly straightforward.
Yeah, that was a huge property, yeah.
Yeah.
So any other comments from the board members? No question. Any comments or questions?
I have a
Sorry,
quick
Mr.
question.
Fisher.
So I'm just looking at the plan, and there's like a strip of land that sticks out that looks like it's only accessible through those lots. Is that piece of land going to be orphaned, or am I wrong?
Yeah, that'd be the retained piece. It's sort of a triangular shaped piece at the top end. It fronts on, that's where the existing dwelling and outbuildings are. And it's accessed directly off Lavert Drive. So it runs right in front of that on the north side.
So, but it's in the same property group. It's not.
That's correct.
It belongs to 28. It belongs to 28 on my map.
That's correct. It's all that property.
Thank you.
Okay, any other question or comments? Hearing none, I will call it to a vote. Everybody in favor as presented? Carried. Item C1921, please.
Application, mover, seconder. Fern, Roger. It is moved by Fern Paradis and seconded by Roger Gagnon that a consent application made by Rabin Bruyette and José Prévost to create 2 new lots at 9793 Highway 17 in Verner, being part of Lot 4, Concession 5 in the Township of Kirkpatrick. Actually, I think that's actually in the Township of Hugo, but I will check that out. Through you, Mr. Chair, I just actually received an application. You didn't receive this correspondence because I only received it this afternoon from the applicant. They did receive some concerns from the Ministry of Transportation. The Ministry of Transportation is recommending that the access to the new lot that is abutting Deer Lake Road be accessed off of Deer Lake Road, and that the lot more westerly would have access from the highway. They don't want 2 accesses along the Highway 17. That's about all their comments were. So it just wasn't included in your package, so I thought I'd just point that out. So what is being proposed here, there's actually another thing going on, but it's a natural severance on the opposite side of the road that we don't need to concern ourselves with here. But what's being proposed here is to divide the property on fronting on Highway 7 exactly at the corner of Deer Lake Road and Highway 17 into 2 lots, both of which are well in excess of the required frontages and lot area for residential development.
So what we're deciding on tonight is the colored copy we got in our agenda there. I believe the color is blue there.
That's correct.
With both area. Okay, thank you very much. So any question or comments? Any from the audience? Hearing none, I'll call to a vote. Everyone in favor as presented? Carried. Okay, item C20, please.
May I have a mover and a seconder, please? Chris? Roger? It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Roger Gagnon that a consent application made by Moose Point Cottages Limited to create a right-of-way at part of Lot 10, Concession 5, over part, some parts in here that aren't included. Part of Lot 5, part of Lot, but I'll start again. Part of Lot 10, Concession 5 in the Township of Grant. Through you, Mr. Chair, you will recall that last year we had received a request to sever one of the small lots off of the Moose Point Cottages holdings. One of the conditions of that was that the existing right-of-way be relocated, because where the right-of-way is showing on the sketch that you have is not where the actual road is located. So a condition of that particular severance was to provide a new entrance to that lot that was severed and to straighten out the right of way on the existing property.
Right, and so I guess Mr. Who's, oh yeah, Mr. Goodrich is, Paul is representing the applicant?
He is.
Yes, okay. So the sketch that we have attached, everything that is colored is what we're dealing with tonight there. I think it's orange is the color?
That is good tonight.
I got my colors right for a change. So that's what we're dealing with, and that I really, like you mentioned, was a request we made at the previous application that this should be rectified because we see the old ones all over the place, and this is going to become the formal right of way, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So any question or comments from any of the members? Hearing none, I'll call it to a vote. Everybody in favor as presented? Okay, thank you. Carried. Next, C21, please.
Mover and seconder, please. Yes.
Oh, we're up by Duck Creek.
It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Fernand Pellerin that a consent application made by Kevin and Marie Saint-Germain to create 3 new lots on Duck Creek Road, being a part of Lot 4, Concession 6 in the Township of Loudon, West Nipissing Municipality. Through you, Mr. Chair, what is being proposed here, again, fairly straightforward. What is being proposed is new lots at the corner of Deer Lake Road and Duck Creek Road. So right along this section here. So there's not, all the lots are well in excess of what is required in terms of frontage and lot area. There were no concerns or expressions of interest received.
So that if to clarify, is that south of the new bridge we put up a couple of years ago there? That property?
That I would have to defer to Mr. Goodrich on, I don't know.
Well, I can see right now there's a bridge over Duck Creek. I'm assuming that's the one you mean?
Yeah, I think the municipality rebuilt this bridge. Might be, oh, time go by fast. It could be 4 years now. So, no, I'm just trying to put the property. I didn't have a chance to take a drive there today, but with the rain and everything. But it looks like it's just south. It's all the property on both sides of the road south of that bridge, right?
That's correct. The bridge is in close proximity to the north boundary.
And because there used to be a boat launching access on the next to that bridge. I guess that doesn't exist anymore, eh? Okay, I'm oriented now. You're making a presentation on this application?
You're referring to me?
Yeah, well, I guess you're the one who, you're the consultant for
the
this.
Property's right here, Mr. Roberge. So that's Duck Creek. There's a bridge there.
That's a bridge, yeah. And going eastward, we see a small trail there. Is that, that is a private road, I guess, eh?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's on my client's property.
That's all on this property, okay. So I don't have any further question. Any of the members have any question or comments? Any, the person in the public have any question or comments? Hearing none, I will call it to a vote. Everybody in favor as presented. I see all yes, carried. And now to C22.
Mover and seconder. Chris. Roger. It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Roger Gonwell that a consent application made by Ray Allen Madeleine Baudry to create a new lot at 182 Canal Road, being part of Lot 1 in Concession B in the Township of Springer. Through you, Mr. Chair, The proposal here is to create a new lot. So this property is a little bit unique because it has a water service. So the property is located right here in this little corner of Canal Road. So the new lot will be just here, but there is a fire hydrant. At some point in time when the water was brought down Duchesnac Road, the applicant had paid to have the water extended in here. So the water extends right in here, just to about the third house on the road. So the new lot that's being proposed will have access to municipal water, such that it can have the smaller frontage. You see, it only has 46 meters. Would ordinarily be required to have 60 meters, but we can go down to as low as 30 on a lot that has one municipal service. So that is what is being proposed.
Okay. Any question or comments from the members? Any from the audience? Okay, hearing none. Everybody in favor of the application as circulated? Everybody in favor? Carried. And now on to C23.
Okay, mover, seconder. Chris, Dennis. It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Denise Senecal that consent application made by Jacques Primo for a lot addition at 772 Nipissing Street, being part of Lot 3 Concession B in the Township of Springer. Through you, Mr. Chair, what is being proposed by this application is to do a lot addition. You'll see that the property here, this property here is kind of a weird shape. And what is being proposed here is to add from this property, which fronts out here onto Nipissing Street, onto this property here, so that this property here will actually have frontage on the, so that part of it's being added. So this property is going to have frontage now on the Marlow Road. Before, it had a right of way across the back of this property here that's also on Nipissing Street. So instead of having to access via this right of way across the top of their neighbor's property, they'll actually own land that's actually on the traveled road.
Okay,
That's
that
it.
makes sense.
So then right now they come in over here. They'll be able to come in here.
Okay. Any question or comments? Hearing none, I'll call it to a vote. Everybody in favor as presented? Okay, it's all yes, carried. And now to C24, please. We're getting there.
We're getting there. You guys are so efficient. Okay, mover and a seconder, please, for C24. Vern, Roger. It is moved by Fern Pellerin, seconded by Raji Gagnon. Consent application made by Marlene Nevins to create 2 new lots at the property located at 9793 Highway 17 in Field, being part of Lot 4. Is it Field or Werner, Paul?
Pardon me?
Is it Field or Werner? Sorry to. This is
To
Field.
be honest, I'm not quite sure what address this has. It's kind of in between.
That's Badger Township.
Field, Badge Rose, well, it's actually, it's in Rowley's ward.
Yeah, it'd be, I think it's a field address.
Yeah, I'm just
The
checking
field
to
address-
make sure that my resolution's correct. Sorry.
Yeah,
Because Werner address, I think, stops at the pole line on the highway there.
I just want to make sure my legal's correct on this property here. Just let me take a fast move. Okay, yes, Mrs. Nevins' address is Capriol. That doesn't help.
There's been a realignment of the municipal boundaries.
Yes, yes, yes. So the property is actually located, the MTO didn't tell us either. It's in the Badger Township, which is between Field and Werner on Highway 575. We did have comments from the MTO that I didn't include in your package, so that I had forgotten to include. The Ministry of Transportation will provide entrance permits for the new proposed lots. They don't have any concern or objections with regard to the proposal. And both of the lots are in excess of the amount of frontage and area required for rural residential development. So that's all.
Hey, Any question or comments? Hearing none, I will call it to a vote. Everybody in favor? Carried. Now to C25, please.
Mover and seconder. Chris. Fern. It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Fern Pellerin that a consent application made by Tina Halverson and Andrea DeCarfo to create a new lot at 745 Highway 805 in River Valley, being part of mining claim S29881 in the township of Janes. Through you, Mr. Chair, this property is located so far out of West Nipissing that we don't even have aerial photography for it. This property would be about a kilometer past property that is known as Cowboy LaBelle's.
Yeah, and I believe that is in the Sudbury district, eh?
It is, although it's part of West Nipissing for planning purposes, it actually is located in the district of Sudbury for land registry purposes. So you'll recall that a couple of years ago, the property was acquired and there was a couple of severances created over here on this side of the road. This is just this one lot in the middle of nowhere, because all that white is just, it's all just crown land all the way around them, other than this one little property, which I mentioned as I think the Cowboy LaBelle's. Why, stop touching the buttons, Mel. In any event, so that's what's being proposed, is to create new lots over here on the opposite side of Highway 805, right at the corner of, I think it's 805 and,
805.
okay,
It's where 805 turns from an east-west to a north-south road.
okay, what's this over here then?
That's the railway.
Okay, there's no
And
more highway.
there's an old road that runs out through that way, but that's the railway, the old rail bed.
I regret to say I've never been this far out of the West Nipissing municipality.
Then you have never lived.
That is entirely possible.
Well, actually, from that point, if you go all the north, do all the back road, it'll take you almost a full day by the time you come back to that point.
Well, I do know one thing is, from all the discussions at council, this isn't a very good road, so I don't know if I want to go there anyways.
One thing maybe some of you can explain to me, do they own, it's classified as registered as a mining claim, but they don't have a parcel number, and they have a claim number?
That's how the property was patented.
Yeah, you'll notice in the title block, Mr. Roberge, that it says the annulled Township of Janes. So when they've originally surveyed the township, they split it up into lots and concessions, but that was mostly to sell them off as farming lots. These are not farming lots.
No.
So they annulled the township and just had it one big block of land. And then they patented them out as mining claims instead in 40-acre sections.
Okay, but that doesn't give you the mining rights though.
Well, it depends how the land was patented. Typically, what you'll typically do with mining claims, you'll get a claim to the land first, and then when you bring it to patent, and in this case, you get both the surface and the mining rights.
They do transfer them?
I'm pretty sure that this pin has both.
Because I thought that the province had removed all mining rights from surface right back in 1955, because I own a couple of property that used to have mining rights and I lost them all just with a stroke of the pen by the premier of the province.
The good Lord giveth and the good Lord taketh away.
Yeah. So that's why, I was a bit confused how come they could own it under a mining, but I guess I just learned something new.
And some of this, actually, I've just pulled out a copy of the parcel document, the PIN, and the mining rights have been accepted over certain parts of it.
Oh.
So they have mining rights over some of it, but not over some of the rest of it.
Okay, because I believe that's very close to the area where there's all that exploration going on there for those three specific metals there.
I believe there's a site with palladium and platinum just a little further northeast of here.
Yeah, but it's still in Jane Township though.
Yes. Yeah, it'd be up to the north, but yeah.
Just north of that property, right?
But I think
Okay,
it's on the
I've
east side
talked
of the
enough, I
road,
guess.
if I remember correctly.
Any comments or, yes, Mr. Fisher?
So yeah, just I guess with the purpose of this is what, recreation? Is that the idea of the, okay, fine, thank you.
That's correct.
Yeah, the only activity there is to run after rabbits.
Mr. Chair, can I just ask a question that I should have asked before the meeting? Paul, the parts out in front of the property, those parts in the reference plan, are those expropriation plans by the Ministry of Transportation for the highway?
That's correct. They describe them as M plans, which we think of as subdivisions.
Yeah,
But in this case, it was actually an expropriation plan.
so
by
they
the
have,
highway.
frontage on the 805.
That's correct.
Okay. Thought they were kind of weird plans. Usually they're P plans.
That's correct. There is still a P number associated with these, but the actual registered document is called an M plan, which is a little strange.
Yeah. But anyway,
Onward,
so
upward.
any question or comments from any of the members? No question from any of the people in attendance? Hearing none, I'll put it to a vote. Everybody in favor as circulated, carried. And we'll go on to C26, please.
Mover and a seconder.
Oh,
Chris? Who else? Roger, I'm going to put you down because I can only see 4 people. It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Roger Gagnon that a consent application made by Claude and Lise Pilon for a lot addition on Highway 64, lands to be added to 4 Trottier Road, being part of Broken Lot 1, Concession 3 in the Township of McPherson. For you, Mr. Chair, what is being proposed here is to sever this area here to add on to this parcel of land here. And I believe that there is an encroachment of an outbuilding, if that's correct, Paul?
That is correct. That's the whole point of the application. It's just to legalize the encroachment.
good, that makes sense. Any question or comments? Yes, Mr. Roger.
So what's in the yellow portion is going to the severed number 1 portion?
The other way around, actually, the severed one, the orange, is going on to the yellow.
Okay.
And then
Where's
that's
that
the
here
issue. The
getting
yellow
added
is
on
less
to
than
this?
an acre of land.
Yeah, that's what I was questioning. So that becomes all one parcel.
Exactly. So now it's about 2.5, almost 3 acre parcel.
3 acres. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, any other question or comments? Any from the people in attendance? Hearing none, I'll call to a vote. Everybody in favor as presented, carried. And C27, please.
Mover and a seconder. Fern, Chris. It is moved by Fern Pelleday and seconded by Chris Fisher that a consent application made by Chris Woodham to create 2 new lots on vacant land on Bear Lake Road, being part of Broken Lot 4 and Concession 1 in the Township of Hugo. Through you, Mr. Chair, what is being proposed here? Bear Lake Road in Verner. As you go up Deer Lake Road and you bear right as you get to the fork, you'll find yourself here. And these 2 lots are located just a little bit to the east of the Bear Lake Road. There's no, both well in excess of the size and area and frontage for rural residential development. No concerns or objections received.
Okay, thank you. Any question or comments from the members? Any question or comments from the People in attendance, hearing none, I'll call to a vote. Everybody in favor as presented, carried. MV 2021/01, please.
Okay. And mover and a seconder. Roger. Chris. It was moved by Roger Gagnon and seconded by Chris Fisher that a minor variance application made by 223 King Properties, Inc. For property described as 223 King Street in Sturgeon Falls being part of Lot 12. That's not right. What is being requested here is to reduce the number of required parking spaces from 7 to 4. Again, this is a little bit like the property that we had heard earlier. However, it's a little less intensive. Right now, the required parking for the residential component of that building is 7, and what is being requested here is to reduce that number to 4. Part of the main floor is being converted to residential, with part of the main floor to remain commercial. And I believe that Julie Vachon from Centerline Architecture is with us tonight to provide to answer any questions that members may have. This property, as you know, is just located here at the corner of King and Queen, right out here, just close to the municipal office. I think there's a bookstore in the main floor and a used clothing store, and you know the one I mean.
Yep.
So obviously the residential component, again, like the application we heard at the previous meeting, the regular requirement is 1.25 per. The calculation here for the residential would reduce that required number from 7 spaces down to 4.
If I may add, the reasoning behind the minor variance is that only 4 spaces fit on the land. There was already 5 units on the second floor, and we're adding 2 at the back of the building, 2 new residential units. And there is a lot of street parking all around it for visitors. And there's also many parking lots around that building, as you may know, because we're in the downtown core.
There is a municipal parking lot right back there as well.
Any other question or comment? Because that was a fairly longly debated issue at the previous meeting an hour and a half ago regarding a similar property there. So
I have a quick question though.
Pardon me? Yeah, go, Mr. Fisher.
So, Mel, there is a big difference between this one because that municipal parking lot does abut the it basically abuts the building. So if we did get a situation where you know an extra tenant had a vehicle, or every tenant had a vehicle, and they needed 2 extra spaces, would there be a mechanism for them to, I don't know, rent a spot, or can they just park there, or what? How would that work?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the municipality none of our municipal parking lots or parking spaces permit overnight parking during the winter months because we need them cleared for snow removal. As to my knowledge, that would be a council decision if council wanted to enter into such arrangements with regard to its public lots. But currently, no, we don't rent out spaces. Street parking is available during the business hours and during the evenings from April to November. The winter months are different.
So through you, Mr. Chair, can I just quick additional question? So we did in the end, the other one did get approved, and what you're saying is that the ratio of units to parking on this one is not actually as bad as the one that was approved in planning earlier. Is that correct?
That's correct. The ratio is quite a bit. This would qualify for a minor variance. The other one also was converting all of the commercial space on the main floor to residential. They were going to a completely residential, mostly residential zone. This one is keeping a commercial component and just converting some of the space at the rear of the main floor to residential space. If the
Thank you.
storefront will still be commercial.
Thank you.
Okay, any further question or comments? The the applicant has no further comments to make?
No, thanks.
No, okay. So I guess I'll call it to a vote as presented. So everybody in favor? 1, 2, 3, okay, carried. Good luck. It's done.
And last, and you guys are really good. Mover and a seconder. Chris. Roger. It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Roger Gagnon that a minor variance application made by Mike and Marla Tremblay for vacant land located at the corner of Nipissing and 4th Street, being part of lot 26 on RCP 9, being parts 1 and 2 on 36R14519 Township of Springer. You will recall that this property was the subject of a severance early on in 2020, where the lot was divided in half and there was a minor variance at the time to reduce the minimum lot area. What is being proposed now is to reduce the rear yard setback by 1.5 meters in order to accommodate the construction of a dwelling on that lot. The lot is located right here, right at the corner. And this, I believe that what is being proposed is this 1.5 meter variance at the rear of the property. I believe that's the building envelope that you've included in here, Paul. So this 6 meter setback. So the property will face Nipissing Street and the side yard will be on 4th Street. They have the required area for the 3 meter setback on the south side.
So it meets all the other requirements.
Yeah, it's just about 1.5 meters short on the rear yard. And it has a minimum, the lot area has already been varied by this committee last year.
So, yeah, so I think that does qualify as a minor variance with no problem. Any comments from any of the members? Any comments from the audience or the applicants? Hearing none, I will call to a vote. Everybody in favor as presented, carried. So that brings us to the adjournment, believe, right?
You guys are just powering through.
So,
this
Mr.
stuff.
Senecal, for your information, we did 14 applications in exactly 54 minutes.
Your point is well taken.
Yeah.
In fairness, we have a smaller committee here.
And that isn't due entirely to Melanie not letting me speak.
That is that's part of the thing. We don't let him talk, we get to go home sooner. So back here on May the 10th, everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Mover and a seconder, please. Roger. Chris. It is moved by Roger Gagnon and seconded by Chris Fisher. Be it resolved that the West Nipissing Committee of Adjustment meeting is adjourned to May the 10th, 2021.
Everybody in favor, carried, adjourned. See you next month.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.